Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel Row and Wish. We have been living in London for over a year now. And in this video, we wanted to share our honest experience of living in this city. If you're planning to move to London, you will find this video helpful.
So, before we get started, I think it's important we give context on how we ended up in London. So, actually, I came to the UK for my master's and then I briefly lived in Manchester and then ended up moving to London about a year ago.
And I was living in Toronto and moved to London after we got married.
We've already been living in London for over a year, and of course, we find this city absolutely beautiful. But every great city also has its drawbacks, which we will be discussing later in the video. So stick around and let's get started. First of all, of course, the quality of life in London, even though not the best in the world, is actually great. The infrastructure is really good, the public transport, clean air, a lot of greenery. In fact, I feel since we've moved to London, I've actually started walking a lot, and not because there's like lack of public transport, but because the city is so pedestrian friendly.
While the city is pedestrian friendly, I feel it's also very bike friendly. So ever since we moved here, I got a bike for myself and I enjoy riding around the city.
Also, the public transport here is genuinely one of the best in the world, and the connectivity is great. You've got the tube, the overground, the DLR, the trains, and of course the buses. So really, like, you don't even need to own a car, practically speaking, and you can be anywhere in London, provided you have access to public transport. In fact, we had a car in Manchester, which we sold off when we moved to London because the city has such great connectivity already.
And while the infrastructure of the city is amazing, the city is also very multicultural and truly feels like the capital of the world. In the tube ride alone, you will hear people speaking different languages, and walking down the streets, you will encounter restaurants from around the world.
I mean, the other day we walked by a street and it had a Greek restaurant, a Korean restaurant, a Lebanese restaurant, literally back to back. And that's why we really feel that London has, really imbibed the cultures of all the people who come to live in this great city and get to call it their home.
You can meet people from different cultures and background over here. In fact, I play tennis and have met people from so many different backgrounds, and I play with them regularly now.
Also, since I studied in the UK, I also have a very diverse set of friends. And genuinely, I feel that we thrive in an environment where there's a lot of diversity in terms of cultures, opinions, so on and so forth. And you'd get that a lot in London. Speaking of multicultural, of course, your work is a space which would be very multicultural. And the work-life balance is also respected here. Unless, of course, you're from banking and consulting where you are expected to work long hours. Personally, I feel that your personal time is respected a lot and you're not really expected to work during the weekends or even even during the weekdays, for long hours. I haven't really seen people doing that a lot. And that's just how the culture is here. In fact, we have a lot of videos on a day in the life, which we have uploaded. So if you're interested in seeing what a day looks like, you can actually look through them. But this reminds me, we haven't uploaded a video on a weekend in life. So if that is something that you'd like to see, let us know in the comments below.
Talking of work-life balance, I think people focus a lot on their health as well. There is a great culture around fitness and people like to run marathons, go for high rocks, or just hit the gym regularly. So that, I believe, stems from a good work-life balance, which helps you maintain a healthy lifestyle as well.
That is so true. I feel that since I've moved to London, I've actually become more active. I've, regularly started going to the gym and also do Pilates. That's because it's just the people that you're surrounded with and everyone is doing it. In fact, I think Rohan also picked up tennis after moving to London, even though he played a bit in India, but he did not continue it. The availability of infrastructure, there are like 3-4 tennis courts right around where we live. So that availability makes it really easy for you to maintain an active lifestyle.
Another great thing about living in London is that you never run out of options about things to do. There are so many museums, most of them actually free, parks, rooftop bars that you can go to and have a great time.
I mean, great restaurants, and theater is something that, we've started exploring since moving to London. and just like a lot of pop-ups and exhibitions, and most of them are actually free, so there's always something to do and you can never get bored in London.
And if you're tired of London, Europe is not far away. You can easily take a 2 hour flight, not costing you a lot, or even a Eurostar train and reach Paris in about 2 hours.
Just the proximity to the rest of Europe, and there's just so much to explore within the continent of Europe itself. And because you're based in London, it becomes very easy to travel to all of these countries. Another thing that I really like about London is the fact that I feel comparatively really safe. I mean, I'm not saying that this is the safest country in the world and there are no crimes against women here, but compared to where I'm coming from, which is Delhi, I really feel safe here walking the streets late at night, taking the tube. I've actually taken Ubers at night. So I genuinely feel that London is way safer than most of the countries out there. And it's not just for women. I mean, Rohan, do you think that you're safer here in London?
Of course, I think from where we are coming, London is a much safer city, but we will also talk about its drawbacks later in the video.
So, as we said, there are so many great things about London, and we truly, truly love this city. But of course, every great city also has its drawbacks. And now we're going to discuss what are some of the things that we wish we could change about London.
All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the cost of living in London. Be it rent, food, groceries, going out just to a restaurant, everything here feels just so expensive. For example, a meal for two could cost around £50, or just a regular haircut is £40 here.
I mean, I paid £90 for my haircut, so it is truly very expensive.
And it's not just the prices of things, we also feel that the salaries here also don't live up to the expenses in the city. So that is definitely a major concern of a lot of people here in London.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the taxes are also very high here. And as Rohan's already mentioned, the salaries are not as good for the same roles as it would be, let's just say, in the US. And a lot of people here are not able to buy houses, are living actually in commuter towns and then taking trains to the city. But again, the trains are also very expensive. So we genuinely feel that London is very expensive to live. And also, we created a video on what is a household expense in London. So, if you're interested, we would link it in the description below. And in this video, we break down all of our expenses, right from rent to groceries and to other leisure activities. And another thing that I think London is trying to improve upon is its healthcare system. Of course, NHS in practice sounds great, right? Free healthcare for all. But unfortunately, I think the system's not working that well, especially for ailments which are not urgent, which are not emergencies, and then the wait times are very long. I mean, I've had instances where, I have a cold or a fever, and by the time I get an appointment, my cold and fever is already fixed by itself. So now I think I don't even try to get an appointment for all of these ailments because I know that I'm not going to get them immediately. And then, of course, if you've got the private healthcare insurance, either through your employer or otherwise, it's great. But if you're just relying on NHS for all of these things, it is a bit difficult.
It easily takes 2 or 3 weeks to get a regular appointment, but don't confuse it with actual emergencies. NHS is very responsive when it comes to emergencies, but again, there is backlogs for surgeries and so on and so forth. While London feels safe most of the times, we do experience petty crimes such as mobile snatching or bike thefts, which are pretty common here. So you always need to be vigilant when you're walking around and you're parking your bike somewhere. In fact, we know people who have lost their phones to such petty crimes. So always be vigilant and just take care of your belongings when you're out in public.
I mean, yeah, that's really unfortunate about the city. And if you're planning to move here, don't just look at the borough and the crime rate. I think in London, the safety changes from street to street. So in the same borough, you could have a very different experience in different streets. We, for example, were about to move to an apartment which was very close to Tower of London, right? So you would think that it's a very safe area. But when we looked at the apartment and the street it was on, it felt really shady. And I could not imagine coming late at night from work and, passing by that street. So we passed on it. And of course, the weather, which gets to a lot of people in London. I mean, London is beautiful during summers when the days are longer and you get a lot of sun. There's just so much to do outside. But as soon as it's October and the days start becoming shorter and it starts becoming colder, think a lot of people take time to adjust to that. I would still say during winters, like October, November, and December are still okay because it's Christmas time and there's Christmas lights everywhere. There's a lot of Christmas markets. There's just so much to do. So you enjoy that part. But as soon as it hits January and all the lights and the Christmas decorations are out, it becomes super depressing.
And honestly, coming from Toronto, I'm not complaining much about the winters here. I feel it much more pleasant as compared to Toronto. So I truly love both winters and summers here. I definitely agree it gets a little gloomy, but of course, you have to choose your battles, and there are good days and bad days.
The thing about London is the fact that it's gloomy most of the time because it is very cloudy and it rains a lot. But the rains are not heavy downpours. They're just like drizzle where you can actually just, put a raincoat and walk through it. So it's not annoying that way. But yeah, whenever the sun is out, it's like every Londoner has to be out because then otherwise it's a crime to stay indoors when there's sun. Okay, and talking about the gloomy weather, of course, London can get really lonely. It's a big city, everyone is overwhelmed, everyone is so busy, everyone seems to always be rushing. And by the way, Londoners are very famous for cancelling last minute because of just so many things happening around. So if you're somebody who's moving because of work, it can get really difficult to, build that community unless you already have a bunch of friends here. I mean, we were really lucky because I studied in the UK and I already have a lot of friends in London. But for somebody who's just moved to London without having a community here and it's a fresh slate, then they would have to work really hard to build that community. I mean, you would genuinely have to go out and approach people because in London, you usually, it's very rare that neighbors know each other and that you're in the tube and you're having that short talk. Like it's unheard of, which is really unfortunate.
That's true. On the flip side, there are several apps that you can use to connect with like minded people. There's apps such as Meetup or apps such as Spin or Racquetball, which are used for tennis. So there's a lot of things which help you connect with other people. And if you want to really go out and meet people, there's enough opportunities for you.
That's true because these days I've started getting ads for a website called Time Left and it's actually quite popular. It's got a lot of reviews and the concept is basically that you sign up and you meet with strangers and have dinner with them. I mean, that's quite a cool way of making friends, definitely. But the entire idea is that you would have to make a lot of effort in order to make friends here in London. So that's a wrap. This was our unfiltered review of our 1 year of living in London. And if you have any questions about our life in London or if there's a point that we missed, both pros or cons, feel free to drop in the comments below. See you next time.